I wish to say for the record, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a bad Raw show. It wasn't. But let's be honest here. This show was botchy. And I believe the reason that it was botchy is because of the different dynamic and commentation. We don't have Michael Cole. Thank you, great. Thank you so much. I'm not against Michael Cole. The problem I always had with Michael Cole is that he's been on TV so long, he isn't just become stale, he's become messy. He was botching too much, he was a problem. Byron Saxton is a lovely, wonderful, refreshing feeling, just like Josh Matthews on TNA. Even though he is still working with a botchy, problematic Taz, the show does have a much more comfortable dynamic. Byron Saxton's giving us that as well, but here's the problem. One of the two commentators along with him is... There needs to be a change in the dynamic between JBL and Booker T. As far as I can tell, Booker T is more botchy than JBL. There may be a point, if this continues, that Booker T must be removed or JBL must be removed to allow Byron Saxton to have a better dynamic, because the dynamic was off. These guys were talking over each other most of the time and talking over Byron Saxton. And that's a problem. You cannot have a new guy get talked over so heavily. It completely throws off the product, which it did for me personally. Now, the opening of the show wasn't too bad, even though it was hard to understand why in the blue fuck they were acting so stupid with Kane. I'm not a big Kane fan anymore. I loved Kane before, but he just doesn't have the same attitude as he used to do. Used to do in the ring and do in his promos. He just is really very generic and very empty. But when they're trying to get him to show more of a leadership type of position, Seth just made himself sound stupid. I'm sorry, it just didn't work. Big Show tried to save some of it, but it just didn't work for me personally. But this is what Kane did. He had 3 matches set up, and these guys had to succeed in their matches if they wanted to go to the main event, where one of them would become the number one contender for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at Fastlane. I'm about to say Fastlane. You see I'm botching because this segment just got on my nerves. But the first match we got was Randy Orton versus Kane. Short, sweet, to the point, Randy kicks his ass. Fine. The next 2 matches were pretty much the same, except the one with Big Show and Roman Reigns was a little bit longer than Luke and Ryback. But I gotta say this. The person who really looked the best at the end of the night was not Randy Orton and it was not Roman Reigns. It was Ryback. Ryback had the biggest reaction. Now, I'm not against Roman Reigns. I really believe Roman Reigns will eventually become heavyweight champion. He will. But I really believe right at this moment, Ryback has the most momentum. And I believe it would have been a better dynamic instead of Randy Orton and Seth Rollins to have Ryback and Seth Rollins. You know why? Give you like this. Ryback has been building up slowly. The crowd, no matter where he's been going, has been really cheering for him heavily. Now, everyone was happy about Randy Orton. They were. And they loved what happened at WrestleMania 31, especially with that super RKO that he pulled off, which I gotta say was quite nice. But we've seen these two for quite a while. And I believe that the timing now is done. And that Ryback should be the one to have gone with that number 1 contendership. Yeah, you could say, well, we still need Randy Orton to be able to get Seth Rollins over, because even though Seth Rollins is the best person to be chosen as champion, he still needs someone to help get him over. Now, I understand that. Now, you could have done the Ryback, getting the position, then getting beat up, and then later getting the shot against somebody else. Later in the year. But it would have been nice to see Ryback get that shot at first. Now, Seth Rollins versus Neville. The man that gravity forgot was a little bit of a toss for me, because it's not that I don't watch NXT. I have really seen only a little bit of it. The problem here is this. This is a great rub for Neville Adrian Neville gets a great rub from this, but this was supposed to be a squash match. And the problem here is Adrian Neville is a very strong high flyer who is very dynamic and very explosive. Seth Rollins is a high flyer to a certain extent, but he's more methodical. And in this case, even though they meshed pretty well, not great, but pretty well, Adrian Neville got too much of a shine and Seth Rollins got a little bit of a dulling. And we didn't need that. It would have been better if Seth Rollins had gone up against somebody where he didn't need to get help. He really needs to be built up so he doesn't look so weak. He's so weak at this moment, it's not good. But he is the perfect person to have that title right now. Now, the thing that I love the most. Primetime players, millions of dollars. Man, I love that mess. That was, I have to admit, them cutting in shocked a little bit of Byron. And I think that wasn't very good. He should have been prepared a little bit better. But this is the main roster and he's not used to it. But here's the thing. Oh, Titus and Darren did a good job to make me very interested in them. I always thought these guys would be great characters as faces and have that silliness. And you saw them playing on playing on the Ascension, playing on pretty much New Day. That sucks. And he just said it clearly. Titus said it clearly. If you having a nappy day, it ain't no good day. He didn't say those exact words, I don't believe, but you get my point. It was funny, and I loved it. I hope they do this more often. Let the primetime players have these quick segments in the night on Raw. Not only would get them over, it would spice the show up. Now, since I did mention New Day, I'm going to get it over with. New Day versus the Lucha Dragons. I'm going to say this. Sin Cara and Kalisto, they look good, no problem. But this wasn't about them, even though they got the win. This was about Kofi Kingston hitting Kalisto in the head, but not winning the match. He wasn't involved in the match, but he kicked the boy in the head. Now, you could say, that's enough. Just, it wasn't Big E who turned heel. He's already been a heel. Xavier Woods, who looked like he was going to turn heel, but then they backed off of it. No. It was Kofi Kingston, who has been in the company since around 2007 to 8, who came in the main roster around at least 2006 or 7. Can't remember when he came in. But he came in, he's been the same person since he's been there. And it's almost been roughly 9 to 8 years since he's been in the company. He's never shown heelish attitude. In this case, he did. And it was epically good. It shocked the commentation team, which was good, and made the crowd like, what did he just do? He doesn't do that. That was great, but here's the problem. They should have fucking won. That would have set them over in the crowd. They're getting New Day sucks. I really believe they should have won that. That's just me. But I gotta understand they didn't want to job the Lucha Dragons yet. They just came on the main roster. But if you're doing that, why didn't you let Adrian Neville job to a Seth Rollins? You get my point. I really believe they should have won that match, even though I understand they didn't want to job the Lucha Dragons so quickly. Now, Sheamus. Fella! Had to do that because of the fucking mohawk and the way he's done his... Anyone who doesn't like this, dude, come on. You get the same shit from Sheamus all the time. The guy now has a new opening entrance music, which is actually fitting for a person who's of Celtic descent. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to school you a little bit. This is what I know. Being part Native American myself, I have a heritage of it. The Celts and the Native Americans like the Cherokee, the Navajo, the Black Crow, the Pawnee, the Manhattan Indians, they did exactly like the Celts did. They would have special hair. I mean, they would cut their hair in a certain way. They would have mohawks. They would do something with their facial hair. They would wear special clothing. I would love to see him come out in a fucking kilt and fucking kick the shit out of everybody. I felt seeing him with the new music, with the hairstyle, with the attitude was wonderful until after he did a good promo, fucking Mark Henry came out. Why the fuck did you use the homeboy, the homegrown boy of Texas, Mark Henry, in this capacity? I hate this fucking shit. This was not right. This was fucking wrong. Why the fuck did you do that to Mark Henry? This is a marquee type of man in a Mark Henry. I know people are going to say, dude, he ain't that great. Yes, he is. When he was World Heavyweight Champion, the mid-card belt, when he held it for several months, people wanted to see his ass. So he's something that should be left in something special. And I don't understand about the Texas crowd. They didn't cheer for him. It was a light cheer when he came out, and there was barely any cheering while the match was going on and when he was getting the edge. What happened to your boy, Texas? What the fuck's your problem? And that was a problem I had with the Texas crowd. They didn't cheer that much. Most of the crowd was quiet. Only when Neville came out and when Ryback was doing his shit, that's when they really picked up. Everyone else was mediocre. And it wasn't that bad. I gotta say this about John Cena. He didn't do a bad match with Stardust. And I'm not a huge Cena fan, but I gotta say this. Seeing him in the US Championship was actually refreshing, and it's actually not bad to see him. The championship is being shown. He's letting the lower card and mid-card players actually get some spot with him, even though they're going to job, which I know and I don't like it. I would like to see them face him and then have a real feud with him. But I don't think that's going to happen. But still, it wasn't a bad job. The springboard stunner isn't that bad. And then the forward slam that he did with Cody wasn't bad either. At least it's not the 5 moves of doom. And I got to say this right now because I'm almost near the end. I will be doing a debate of the week on Jericho and John Cena podcast. I will be doing it. You should see that next after this. But he didn't do a bad job. He spoke very well. We didn't see anything of Rusev, which is okay. He's saving him they're saving him for Extreme Rules. I'm all right with that. But I'm hoping they will not over-spotlight him, even though he was in the 9 o'clock main event, which I wouldn't mind seeing him there. It's actually not bad. Let more people deal with him. Hell, if Kofi's turned heel, let Kofi deal with a John Cena. That'll be something not bad to see, and maybe he may get over more than Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston. I'm just saying. Now, the match that truly angered me beyond fuck. You know what? I'm going to save this for last. I'm saving it for last. The next thing I'm going to talk about is Paige and Naomi versus the Bellas. I didn't really care about that too much, but the way the commentary team talked is, I'm hoping now they will now spotlight Naomi more. Now we know AJ is retired now, and I'm going to be doing debate of the week on her as well. It won't be after the podcast I just talked about with Chris and John Cena, but I am doing a debate of the week on her. If finally they realize that people need to have someone new next to Paige, if they're actually pushing Naomi because she's won again against the Divas Champion, I can't wait to see it. I'm hoping at Extreme Rules they'll have a match. That's what we need. Excuse me, sick. But the match wasn't bad. I didn't care that much about the Bellas, particularly having problems between each other. That's making me very nervous to think that Bella versus Bella is coming back, and Naomi will be put on the back burner. But that's a possibility. But I gotta say this about Naomi, and you know how I love Naomi. She was a bit botchy at the end of the match, falling on her ass when she did that split instead of landing on her feet. I'm hoping she will not be that botchy when and if she does get the Divas Championship title match. That's what I'm hoping will not happen, but you never know. Let's see what's left here. Oh, a Battle Royal is going to happen, I believe, next week, because all the women except for Naomi came out and begged Kane to give it to them. And I didn't know Alicia Fox could scream so damn loud. I think one of the reasons why Bad News Barry didn't want to stick with her is because she screamed so loud when they were intimate, he couldn't handle it. That's what I'm thinking. But let's get to the final thing that we need to talk about, and I'm looking just to make sure, and that is Miz versus Mizdow. Why? Why the fuck would you do this now, WWE? You just fucking blew your load. You let Mizdow begin to get traction, begin to get a build-up. You give him a moment at WrestleMania where he faces the second largest guy that's been known in the company to Andre the Giant, that's Big Show. Khali and the Great Gonzalez don't count. Height is one thing, size is another. He gets over, and one, you decide about a week later after this, you don't try to do promo segments or fights between them. You just throw them in the fucking ring where Mizdow has no new music, no new ring attire, and it's in front of a mediocre crowd. This was the worst thing the WWE could do. Now, if I'm wrong, tell me why this was a good match. Because it felt like it was not necessary. Mizdow should have a signature pay-per-view win. If you're building up to him, put him on Extreme Rules with The Miz. Or at least a pre-show to Extreme Rules. Why this? Why now? This was dumb. The crowd was not that loud for him. The crowd was not that interested in the match that much. And at the end, The Miz won this when if he had to job to The Miz, at least at a signature pay-per-view, which should be Extreme Rules, even though it's a mediocre one, at least it would have been a signature one for Mizdow. This was fucking stupid. I cannot believe they go through all this just to end it now. Now, I know you're going to say, well, it's not over. Mizdow can get back at him. No. You can still try and promote this. Mizdow will still be over, but the first match is very important. And sometimes you need a build-up into that match. They should have had in-ring segments together. They should have had arguments and fights between each other in the back. Miz should have had the Titantron segment before having this fucking match. And this is what we get. I am fucking outraged at this. I am ranting about this because it was stupid. You give all this time to two guys who have been working very hard, and now you end it like that in a sense. It's not over, but it's wrong. But that's just my opinion. What's yours? Now, I hope you enjoyed this Zane's View. Please give me a comment below. Watch out for my debate of the week on Chris Jericho's podcast with John Cena. That will be coming up next. It'll be uploaded either tomorrow night. Well, actually, this one's going to be uploaded tonight. And I think I'll be able to get the debate of the week out by tomorrow morning. I have some stuff to do in the middle of the night. I'm working on something. You guys have a good day and have a good night. Peace out.